Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we take a look at up-and-coming North American talent. Each week, we check out a new player to get a feel for their personality and their playstyle. On Thursday, we interview the player to try and find out more about who they are and why you should care about them. On Friday, we watch 3 of their games as we cover their playstyle in each of the 3 matchups. Saturday, we take a look at an awesome game that they've played and relax with a little bit of fun as we recap the week and get an analysis of the games. Breaking Out will cover 8 players before it culminates into the Breakout Invitational. With a minimum prize pool of $1,000, we find out who is the most likely player to break out of the North American scene. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to another episode of Breaking Out, the show by North American StarCraft 2 players. And today I'm joined here with boisterous SC2. How you doing, man?
Hi, Fear Dragon. Sorry, I was just getting
Wrong.
The last cast.
Wrong cast. For those of you who don't know, we did a racial cast where we casted as a Protoss player and a Zerg player, respectively. And by player, I mean the actual members of those races.
Yeah, I was an overlord. And the way you said that, I was kind of expecting you to be like, yeah, we both pretended to be like someone from Harlem. It was great.
Oh,
You're
God.
like, yo, dog.
Dangerous for her to go down right now, boisterous.
Yeah. That's how I roll.
Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. We have the red Protoss player representing Team Dust. He is the highlight player of the week. It is Dust sWs.
And up here in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent, the Zerg player from Root. It's Patreus. That's got to be a bad name to hold on to after all the scandals.
What scandals?
General Patreus.
Oh my God.
Stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Wow, man, I'm just in total StarCraft mode. You completely caught me off guard with that.
I'm sorry. I'm all about real life.
Fair enough, man. But hey, okay, we already have a little bit of information on what sWs is opening up with. He's going for that Forge first expansion, which is actually really interesting because this does give him the potential to maybe go for some kind of cannon shenanigans. But the question is, will he actually have the opportunity to? It doesn't look like Patreus actually wants to go for that hatch first.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of risky to go for the hatch first, especially considering the fact that he saw sWs scout so early. But sWs, like, this seems like an old school build.
Yeah,
I haven't seen this in tournament play for at least a few months.
Yeah, it's one of those cool things that Protoss players can do to kind of mix things in. I know that Patreus, I should say sWs, really likes to mix things up and be as unpredictable as possible. And oh my God, sWs is being so annoying with these pylons on wherever Patreus tries to expand. He's planting down a pylon, man. He's even getting ready to potentially plant down another pylon at the last potential third location.
I'm not sure if I really agree with this. I mean, like, I could have seen it if he canceled them, but actually just leaving them up there for this long, I mean, he's losing 200 minerals, which is kind of a big sack. He is going to get his Nexus up before his opponent, which is nice, but the second one doesn't take nearly as much time and as many resources as the first one does, just because the first one already forces out the Zerglings, which can then just run over the second one and be perfectly fine. But, I mean, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly a big investment, and I'm curious, though, if he's actually going to force Patreus to maybe throw down the third hatchery at a different location. It looks like for now he's just going to go ahead and keep that drone over there and wants to expand, to that sort of closer location. It's a really weird place for a Zerg player to expand, in my opinion. I haven't really seen too many Zerg players expand there.
Well, I mean, Heavy Rain is just like an interesting map for the third in general. I actually kind of like this position because it's easier to hold on to in the early game, but then in the later game it gets a lot harder, so you can actually just take this little tiny pocket base, which I feel is kind of the reverse. It's a lot easier to hold on to in the late game just because it's so close to the rest of your army, and once you get those super slow moving units out, the Broodlords, the Ultralisks, and the Swarm Hosts, you can defend it a lot easier than you can the other third.
Oh yeah, that's actually a really good point, and we'll have to see when exactly Patreus decides to take a fourth expansion, because for now, I mean, it's just going to be a 2-base Protoss versus a 3-base Zerg. Everything looking relatively standard after all those kind of shenanigans that happened early on, but I don't know. What do you were talking a little bit about Heavy Rain. Are there any kind of like big Protoss strategies or Zerg strategies that you tend to see on this map?
I tend to see a lot of two-blaze plays from the Protoss player, but I don't think that is what sWs is going to be going for here. I mean, his wall is definitely interesting. My interior decorator is going absolutely insane because this wall makes no sense.
But I actually kind of like it. I mean, the cannon covers the entirety of the wall.
It just looks super wonky because that pylon at the bottom isn't flush for the cybernetics core, which just drives me crazy. That's like just straight up like OCD from me, but I just hate when that happens. I think it's actually nice because then if he has like say a bunch of Zerglings or something bared up, then the sentries have a little bit of space to get in there and attack the Zerglings. Just doesn't look right. It doesn't look natural, Fear Dragon.
StarCraft is not made for the OCD, Boisterous.
It's really bad.
We are gonna have a Stargate plop down over here from sWs, and I mean, that's honestly, I think, a pretty strong opening on this map.
Yep.
I really do like the Stargate play. There's a lot of area for those Stargates to kind of abuse and run around. There's going to be a lot of free overlords for him to try and pick off. But we do have Betrayus, who did get those earlier 2 gas geysers. Honestly, just playing pretty standard Zerg, and going to be getting up that layer to eventually throw down some tech. Here's his what he's actually going to be throwing down.
Yeah, I mean, Betrayus is just playing a very safe Zerg style. He got those 3 bases up. You know, he actually didn't go for speed, and I don't think he's going to go for speed this game. I think he just went right for the roaches, and that was going to be his defensive plan if he needed him. Now, of course, he didn't. And it looks like sWs is actually going to be dropping his 3rd Nexus at this point and getting Oracles, which is an interesting play. Most players you go for Phoenixes. They're a lot more safe. Oracles are kind of all or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you sort of wonder and kind of worry and say, like, okay, well, you can try and do some damage to the mineral line, but I mean, there are going to be the queens there, so it's going to be difficult to do a large amount of damage. There's already spore crawlers going up as well, so I don't know. How does he defend against some sort of big counterattack of roaches kind of trying to deny this 3rd expansion as well? Because I mean, this is not exactly a super early 3rd, but it is still kind of early 3rd.
I don't think he's really planning to. I mean, I guess he's getting a Void Ray just in case, but a Void Ray isn't going to hold off a massive roach push from killing off 3rd base. So he's kind of playing kind of greedy. I mean, like, he's going to be aggressive, but he's got to be aggressive with units that can't protect him.
You know, I think this really does come back to something that sWs actually said in his interview. He really likes to play against the player rather than just playing against the race. So maybe he says, you know what, I know that Betrayus likes to go up to that 4 base play. He doesn't like to really be heavily aggressive and try and deny those Protoss 3rd expansions. Maybe it's just particular to this map, I'm not entirely sure. But I feel like this may be one of those cases where he says, I can afford to play a little bit greedy against Betrayus.
Yeah, and you know, he just threw a Revelation in the main base, which I'm a little bit confused by. I'm not sure why he would pick a Revelation over any other ability. It's kind of just interesting, because Revelation is kind of a rare ability other than for, like, scouting out army movements.
Well, I think he saw the Infestation Pit earlier, and he was trying to see, like, okay, well, now I will know if you try and start moving in your hive tech.
All right, fair enough. That's actually, that's pretty good, but I mean, it's still early. I don't know, it's just strange to see an Oracle throw out Revelation as instead of doing actual damage.
It really is. It also might be a bit of a reaction to seeing like how many of those, there's a spore crawler in every single mineral line, there's also the queens there, so he says, you know what, might as well just use some of that energy on getting some scouting information rather than just trying to gun it down on those drones and end up losing the Oracle.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely doing a nice job of keeping this Oracle alive. Just flying around. There's another Revelation, actually on the 3rd base that time.
Yeah, pretty interesting. You know, the other thing that I guess I didn't consider is he also gets pretty good scouting information on what's popping out of all those eggs. So, like, right now, threw down on the one with the macro hatchery. I mean, he's going to see, okay, how are you making infestors right now? Are you making swarm hosts? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, we are going to have those infestors popping out from Betrayus right now. And, I mean, if you look at sWs, he is going, like, straight up in the noob canoe with the Void Rays. It's like full legit noob canoe.
Oh my god. No, he already has 5 Void Rays. He's getting up 2 at a time. He's also getting up Templar Arca, so honestly, he's just preparing for a super late game composition against the Zerg players.
Crazy late game composition at 12 minutes in the game. Like he's skipping the Colossus. That's his entire plan here. He's like, the Colossus tech usually need it, but I'm just gonna ignore that fact. Go right for the Void Rays and right for the Templar.
Well, it's also interesting because, I mean, he got out a handful of those observers. I mean, he's sitting at 2 observers right now, and now he's starting to get out Immortals, which, yeah, he's skipping Colossus in favor of Immortals. That is a really weird thing that I haven't really seen too often. Unless you're just expecting a ton of Roaches. I mean, the Immortals don't really do too well against Swarmos. They don't really do too well against Zerglings. They don't really do too well against Hydralisks. I don't know. It's a kind of interesting unit composition choice.
Man, both of these players are just hopping right to the late game. I mean, if you look at Patreus' third base, he has 12 queens out right now. It's like 12 defensive queens, and he's coming out with ultras now.
Boys, I think we missed the part in this game where they said 30-minute no rush.
I know, right?
Patreus breaking that rule, though, is going to go ahead and lay down a little bit of aggression with these Zerglings. Gonna try and knock down this wall. It looks like sWs is gonna be able to push that back because, honestly, Patreus, I mean, you have a 2,500 mineral bank. Just might as well try and sacrifice some of those Zerglings and go for it. But Zerglings over at the 4th expansion of sWs actually getting some good damage done.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. It looks like they are gonna be trying to not wait tonight, so that thing is gonna be safe pretty easily. Well, this is kind of the point where the ones at the 3rd can swing in and start hammering that wall again. But I mean, he's just playing it safe.
Yeah, I said they were getting some good damage done, but honestly, we actually have 1 worker killed so far.
What? How did they only... Alright.
I have no idea,
I'm
man.
not even going to question that.
sWs, I guess, just ran his probes at the exact right time, and that mineral walking does a pretty good job. But, okay, here is where I am getting a little bit concerned for sWs Boisters, because he's sitting at 160 supply. Yeah, he has a lot of Voiders. He has a lot of Immortals, which now I'm realizing are going to be very effective against Ultralisks. But we have a ton of Ultras going to be coming out, and a ton of Infestors already out, and a ton of Queens already out against a max out Patreus.
I think the big story here is that these Ultralisks are going to be sitting at 1-1. Maybe 3-1 by the time this fight happens, maybe 4-2. But I'm thinking it's going to be 3-1, which is it isn't high for Ultralisks. And, you know, these Immortals and these Void Rays can tear through that because of the extra damage they do to Armored. And Void Rays just do an insane amount of damage. Like, Void Rays beat Corruptors. They just do so much damage.
Oh my god, they are absurd. Now, Mushroom Core is kind of poaching forward, is going to spot out all these ground units, the Ultralisks and the Zerglings. They're going to be able to stay a little bit safe, but upon seeing all those Queens, it's definitely going to have to back up. Patreus, I think he's going to have a hard time moving in against this wall, and that sWs just kind of like impromptu threw down.
Yeah, I mean, sWs literally has everything in his side of the map walled off, except for like this one ramp down to the 4th base. That's the only spot that isn't walled in. And the main issue with Patreus right now is that a huge backbone of his army is 12 Queens. And 12 Queens aren't fast. 12 Queens aren't the things that you can run through a wall. You need to like destroy the wall. You have to move slowly and methodically.
Well, this might be a good answer. We have a couple of Vipers now coming out for Patreus. Now, I know that the Templar Archives was thrown down. How many High Templars do we actually have? We could see some nice feedbacks. It's going to be pretty important. Time Warp does go down. Big Fungal Growth going down on all of the Immortals, but the Storm's actually going down on a lot of those Queens, and actually, sWs is pushing Patreus back pretty handily.
Good God, these Immortals
destroy
Ultralisks. I'm pretty sure this group of Immortals can one-shot Ultralisks if they all shoot at the same time. I'm pretty sure they can.
I am actually pretty sure that they can as well. And, you know, big Fungal Growth's going down, but, I mean, there's not that many Infestors left over. They kind of got picked off by these Void Rays, by the Immortals, and now we're going to end up seeing sWs pushing it over here to the 3rd expansion. Sporecaller helping out quite a bit against those Void Rays, and so are those Queens, kind of decimating that Void Ray count, but the Immortals stand strong in the behind.
Good God, Immortals are good units.
Oh, God. Those weapons just decimating them. And, you know, even though the Zerglings are doing a lot of damage now, because, I mean, the Archons and the Zelts have been cleaned up, those Immortals have more than paid for themselves. And I have to say, oh, God, you know, Boisters, this is actually a really weird situation, because both of these players have kind of used up all their banks, and as I say that, we end up seeing suddenly sWs just get up to 2,000 minerals, 2,000 gas. I don't know if he just canceled something or what, but oh man, what just happened?
Switch. But Immortals, they're really good versus Ultralisks, especially when those Ultralisks aren't fully upgraded. I mean, like, you just can't bring Ultras into an Immortal fight, and he's gonna keep trying to do it. Like, he's trying to use the Infestors as support units, and Infestors are good support units for a lot of stuff, but Immortals versus Ultralisks, they're not so great, because the Immortals don't even cur. Like, usually the issue with Ultralisks is that they can't get close enough to hit stuff, but the Immortals just hold their ground and they don't care. They're just like, yeah, whatever, you can hit me. I'll just hit you harder.
Yeah, exactly. It's like by the time that the Ultralisks actually kill off the like 3 Zealots in front, the Ultralisks are all dead.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see, because there actually aren't more than just 2 Immortals over here this time, and we're seeing another big attack from Patreus. He tries to move in over here. He does manage to get a cancel off on this expansion that sWs is trying to throw down, but actually the Archons are really doing a great job against these Ultralisks this time, and the Immortals, I guess I should say the 2 Immortals that are still left over are actually also able to do a good job cleaning that up.
Yeah, I mean, the big issue for Patreus right now is that Ultralisks are great units for closing games if you're ahead. Like, they're great units for smashing through inferior armies, but when you're on equal with armies, the Ultralisks aren't that great anymore. You kind of want swarm hosts, you want something else. And it looks like Patreus is going to be trying to switch into Mutalisks at this point. But, I mean, there's 4 3+3 attack Archons in this army, and then, you know, you have the Phoenixes in the sky.
I don't know, Boisters. I mean, that's a lot of Mutals. We have like almost 20 Mutals coming out immediately, and I don't know if Archons are actually going to be enough to deal with that. Even with 5 Phoenix, you have to micro those really, really well to handle this.
Yeah, but I mean, he's going to be able to at least pick off the Spires here. There's no way the Mutalisks are going to be able to kill.
That's actually a huge loss right now.
That's big. He's going to have 25 Mutalisks, but after that, his production is going to stop. And his Mutalisks are getting quite clumped up right now. I'm a little bit scared for him. It looks like the Phoenixes are going to be returning home. There is a mothership now, which is kind of just ridiculous. You know, mothership.
Oh, God.
Did the mothership just cloak the building Nexus so the Zerg couldn't attack it?
You know, I think that was a pretty strong strategy, but we actually do have those Mutals actually getting kind of focused right down by those Phoenix, and you know, I was saying that wasn't that many Phoenix, but now I'm realizing that sWs has 4 Stargates. He can make 4 Phoenix at a time and easily actually deal with these Mutals, as long as he doesn't get fungal growth, it looks like.
Yeah, that was a pretty nice fungal growth, but the issue is that even with that, I mean, he's still traded okay. He's still got a few Mutalisks for that engagement. And sWs, I feel like he definitely has the economic lead right now. He's a base ahead. I think he has the worker lead. Nah, he doesn't have the worker lead, but I don't think Patreus can actually mine with all of his workers at this point.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. I mean, honestly, all the expansions for Patreus, except for maybe it looks like the 4th expansion and the 5th expansion, are pretty much almost getting mined out at this point.
Yeah.
And, oh god, this is going to be a really weird situation.
Hammered down, and Patreus drops the G.
Drops a single G. It was a game.
It
was a very long game. But honestly, it was a very interesting game. I actually really enjoyed that, because how often do you get to see a 25-minute game where the entirety of Heavy Rain has been taken over by expansions and half of it has been mined out?
Yeah, that's definitely something. I mean, Heavy Rain is that game where it's kind of hard, or is that map where it's kind of hard to take 3 bases, and it's really hard to take 5.
Yeah.
And I mean, they just played it out beautifully.
Yeah,
I wonder when
cool.
sWs will leave. That's the real question here.
That is a good question. It looks like he's just kind of enjoying killing off the remainder of Patreus's life force over here. But you know, I do want to give a huge shout out to you for coming on. So thank you so much, Boisters, for coming on to do this commentary with me. I believe that you'll also be showing up in the next game, won't you?
I guess I will, Fear Dragon.
I guess I hadn't asked you if you wanted to do the next game, but
I guess I'm doing it.
I'm glad that you said yes, because that would have been like that awkward proposal that happens at a baseball game where, you know, someone proposes and it's on the big screen and everything, and the girl's just like, who are you? I just met you. Just like two minutes ago. We met in line. But regardless, thank you so much, Boisters, and I did also want to give a huge shout out to sWs for sending us this replay. We are again covering Dust Gaming's sWs this entire week, so If you're watching this live, it's going to be Friday, and we're going to have another game coming up right after this, so don't go anywhere. It's going to be a Protoss versus Terran at sWs is submitted, and yeah, if you guys do want to give a follow to the channel, please consider doing so. You can also catch all the VODs over at youtube.com/FearDragon64, but with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the next game, Boisterous. We'll see you there.